Are you thinking of boosting your business with content marketing in 2024? If you've listened to the previous episode, then I'm sure you caught the part about where I said we need to have realistic expectations because content marketing is a long term strategy. Although the last podcast episode that I made was about having a podcast, if that was part of your business strategy for 2024. So it's a long term strategy, whether it's podcasts or blogging or whatever. If it's going to be content marketing, especially long form, then you need to have realistic expectations. It's a long term game plan. So don't expect that things that you post or publish, content that you create in 2024, is going to bring you immediate income in the same year. So, but it's going to be a good strategy for audience acquisition and also building an email list that you can sell to later because that is worth a shot. That's for those of you who have businesses that you can. Um, for those of you who have businesses that lend itself well to this sort of strategy. Okay, for instance, what's her name? I think it's Niger Brand Chick. Yeah, I think she's called Niger Brand Chick. She has a series of shopping fairs, and then she also has some online courses and things like that. So for those kinds of businesses that have an what's the word, infomercial element to it, then having an email list that you get from the content that you put out, people submitting their email addresses, you from the lead magnets that you put out, you can use that as a good strategy to get some income, even if the content that you produce itself primarily doesn't get you any income. Anyway, so what do you need for an effective content marketing strategy? So, if you're going to see this through, especially since it is a long term play, then you absolutely need a content calendar. That's what I like to call it. Some people like to call it a content schedule. There are other people who call it a content matrix. It's called different things by different names, but the idea is the same. You come up with a game plan that shows what you're going to publish, when you're going to publish, the kind of content you're going to publish. You're trying to front load all those the critical decision making, so you don't wake up any day with writer's block, not knowing what it is that you need to do. So this is really, really important. It's pivotal if you want to use any kind of content marketing, because you can't leave the execution to your creative juices or your creative flow. Because sometimes you wake up on the right side of the bed and you're full of all kinds of creative ideas, and other times you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or you wake up on the right side of the bed, but your kid is sick, or you have a quarrel with your spouse, your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, and then you have all the ebbs and flows that come not just with creativity but with life in general. And then, plus, even if you wake up and everything is cool, everything is static and fine, waiting for inspiration can be a buzzkill, and waiting for inspiration sometimes just ends up wasting time. So it's a good idea to come up with a content schedule, a content plan, a content calendar, a matrix, whatever it is you want to call it, that will guide you through the kind of content that you should be creating, and also, to give you a sense of what it is that you should be talking about in your Instagram post or your podcasts or your let's see what else, YouTube Shorts. You get the gist. Whatever kind of content it is that you're going to be putting up on social media or the internet. Now, if you do things this way, then posting is going to be consistent for you. Sharing content is going to be consistent for you. And that way you can compound on the attention that you receive for your business. So, for those of you who've been following my socials, you've seen the stats that I've shared on the growth of the podcast, the figures that I got from Spotify, and you've seen that in the last year, the podcast has grown close to 1,000%. Now, the reason why that was possible is because even though I had been publishing for 3 years prior and I had not been promoting it in any way, at the very least, there was some sort of foundation that I could build upon or compound upon. There were some people who were already listening to the podcast. So, me massively promoting now and massively sharing, just regular sharing on WhatsApp, on where else? WhatsApp, LinkedIn. For a while, I also did Facebook and Instagram on all those places, but eventually I cut it back to just LinkedIn. So me sharing on all those places was able to create a compounding effect because there was a foundation that existed prior, and that's why I've been able to grow the podcast close to 1,000% in the last 10 months or so. So that's why it helps to come up with a schedule, because then you can compound. There's less hit and miss, and you can be consistent over time. Now that's the main reason why I'm over 730 episodes so far, because when I wake up, I don't have to think and come up with a plan for what to record every single day. What I'm going to record tomorrow, or what I'm going to record in 5 weeks' time, has already been decided. The only thing I have to do is, when I have the time, I pull up the next item on the list, I whip up my phone, I hit record, and then I start talking. So the list has already been prepared. Well, once in a while, I vary things. I stray from the list and then I pick up an audience question, but it's the same. The audience questions have already been compiled, so they're listed out. And if I decide to dedicate 2 or 3 weeks to audience questions, it's just me looking at the top of the list. I tackle the first one, move to the next, move to the next, move to the next. So it makes things a whole lot easier. I'm not thinking about what I have to do. So by the time I'm done with this podcast episode, I'm going to, create the title, upload it, but I don't have to worry about tomorrow's episode, because when I wake up in the morning and I'm done with everything, the usual school runs. Okay, well, we're going to move house, so be running around doing house viewing, things like that. So if we're in between house viewings and the next agent is not ready, and it looks like I have a spare 20 or 30 minutes, all I have to do is whip up my phone, have a look, and see what is the next question I haven't tackled, or what is the next topic I haven't tackled, and then hit record and then start recording. And it's that easy. So content production is not headache. So for folks like me who have this philosophy of using a content schedule, a content calendar, a content matrix, a content outline, content, whatever it is that you want to call it, creating content is now less of a problem. And then there's consistency to what we do, and then there's a certain amount of congruence, because when you're looking at topics and you're trying to arrange everything, or tackling questions, you notice that there's a certain consistency, or a certain flow to it, and you notice some what will I say, thematic unity in the kind of things that you discuss. But then if you leave it to creative flow, you can wake up today and then make a podcast about this, and then wake up the next day, make a podcast about something else, and then people look at your body of work over the course of a year or so, and they wonder, what exactly is this person talking about? So you have less of a problem if you decide to plan a whole lot of this uh, ahead of time. So that's the reason why you need the schedule, you need the calendar, you need the matrix, you need the guideline, you need the outline, you need the map, you need the whatever it is that you want to call it, or you need the script. Some people call it the script. So whatever it is, that's the reason why you need one. So with the consistency and with the thematic unity of the stuff that you put out, there's a greater chance that you're going to get a wider audience, a loyal audience, a bigger digital footprints. And like in my own case, so long as I keep it consistent, I keep it focused, I'm going to have more avenues for having profitable conversations in the future, as more and more people discover the podcast. So, my advice to you, if you are thinking about wrapping up 2023, what are you going to do in 2024? You're thinking of new ideas and you're trying to see if you can boost your sales, and you're thinking content marketing. The first thing going to say is, let's have realistic expectations. A content marketing strategy is not, and I repeat, is not going to immediately boost your sales in 2024. So if that's the focus, then try something else. So if you're thinking of launching a podcast in 2024 and you're expecting the money to start flowing in 2024, that's not realistic. So you can think of your favorite podcasters. So the girls from I Said What I Said, those two Lagos boys, what are their names? And I can't remember. They have that podcast about, I think, sex for the modern Nigerian man, or something like that. Anyway, that's the theme, not the name of the podcast. So it's not like they started this podcast and then they started rolling in dough. So yes, the girls of I Said What I Said have had some sponsored content by Amazon. I think sometime they were taking advertising money from Showmax. I think Showmax, that's like the DSTV app, like the competitor for Netflix. So yeah, they've been getting some of that sponsorship money, but the sponsorship money did not start in year one. So if you're thinking of boosting your sales immediately for 2024, content marketing is not for you. But if you are thinking, let me do content marketing, let me build an audience, let me see what opportunities for greater conversations we can have for the future, we can worry about monetizing later, then sure, no problem. You can come on board. There are loads of us who have been using that strategy with varying degrees of success, and of course, we will be willing to welcome you on board and help in whatever way that we can. Okay, so the next step is if you are bought into the idea that you need an outline, that you need a matrix, that you need a guide, that you need a plan, that you need a script, that you need a whatever it is, then the next question is how do you create that outline? How do you create the matrix? How do you create your talking points for whatever it is that you're going to do? For some, I'm sure you guys will have noticed that I seem to default to saying podcast, but really, it doesn't have to be podcast. I mean, even if it's Instagram posts, the philosophy is the same. So I think what I'll do is, since I've been saying podcast an awful lot, I'll just do a live case study. We'll start that tomorrow, and I'll see how we can come up with an outline or matrix or talking points, content calendar, content plan, content, whatever it is that we want to call it, for an actual business. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So we'll do that for an actual business, and I'll walk you guys through the thought process on that, or at least how I come up with the thought process on that, and how I make sure that ideation when it comes to content, thinking up ideas, is not something difficult. So it's easy and it's relatable. So that's all for today, folks. And yeah, so that's it. Connect with me on WhatsApp on 080 64662140. The country code is +234. That's for those of you who are hitting me up outside of Nigeria. Then connect with me on LinkedIn. The name is Tavashima Ayede. I'm the host of this podcast. And you can confirm the spelling of my name and the email address on the website where you're listening to this episode, or the profile of the podcast app where you're listening to my voice. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.